What is up, successful dropouts? Get stoked because today on the show we have Mandi Holmes. Mandi is the founder and CEO of She Can Coterie, a full-service business and marketing management agency for online service-based women business owners. Within just a few short years, She Can Coterie has grown to a team of 17 business experts and has worked with over 100 clients in a wide variety of industries, both online and off. Mandi is a mom, wife, and entrepreneur, passionate about helping female business owners get the support they need to take their business to the next level. That's the intro I have for you today, Mandi, but perhaps you could fill us in a bit more on your path towards this incredible business that you've built. Maybe you could even start by just filling us in on your dropout journey.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So I am a two-time dropout,
Wow.
actually. Um, I knew that I always wanted to do something creative, something that wasn't really the norm, the normal like 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
the thing, that you're told you're supposed to do. But I knew that going to college was the next step after graduating. So I did that, and I definitely don't regret going to college. I, of course, learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about the real world after, moving out. I made my very best friends. I
Mm-hmm.
met my husband at college, and actually, my best friends from college are still my best friends, and we're getting together this weekend after several years of not seeing each other. So I like to call my husband and my friends my like $100,000 friends because that's how
Oh,
much we
wow.
paid to make them. but
Fair enough.
yeah, so I was going to school there. I kind of ran out of student aid, and I was going to have to be paying out of pocket. And I had a job over the summer in the admissions office, and I was doing basically data entry. And I was like, it was just basically sucking my soul dry. I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
cannot do the same thing every day for the rest of my life. I cannot do this. So I was like, I want to do something creative. So maybe I'll go to art school. So I called my parents and I was like, would it be okay, guys, if I like dropped out of school and went to art school? And
Hmm.
luckily I have the coolest parents ever. And they were like, if that's going to make you happy, then you can do it. And so I dropped out the first time and I went to
What were
art
you
school.
studying the first time?
The first time, so I went for music, and then whenever the financial aid ran out, I was able to get some aid if I went back for a more traditional route. So I did.
Hmm.
I went back for like education. So it still had the music in it for like music education. But yeah, I'm so happy that I did not continue on that
Uh-huh.
route. I cannot imagine being a teacher. My husband is a teacher, and I do not know how he does it. And all of the teachers around the
Mm-hmm.
world, I do not know how they do that every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to art school for about a year, and I learned a lot of things that I wanted to learn. Like I said, I knew I wanted to do something creative, something
Mhm.
not the norm. But going to that art school, they were trying to get us into like agencies and trying to get us to be graphic designers on
Hmm.
staff somewhere. And I was like, that is not what I want. And again, I was having to pay out of pocket and it's really expensive. So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm done here. So I dropped out for the second time. And from there, I just had small jobs. Like I worked at Starbucks while I started my own kind of graphic design business, and I was designing wedding invitations and like blog templates and blog designs whenever blogging was like getting
Hmm.
started and was a thing. And I was just trying to find the thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Um, and so I worked, office jobs, and I just did all the things to try and survive until I started working for a virtual assistant startup
Mm.
in Silicon Valley, and it was like I worked from home. They gave me clients that I was just like a standard VA for doing admin work, and that was also kind of soul sucking,
Mm.
mostly because I was getting paid $11 an hour to be the like admin support and help these clients run their businesses. And I knew that the work that I was providing for them was way more
Mm.
valuable than the $11 an hour that I was being paid. And I could see the things in the business that I would change and I would do differently if I were doing it myself. And luckily for me, that the business crashed. And so over the weekend, the business shut down. So I found out on Monday morning when I went to clock into work that I didn't have a job anymore because the business didn't exist anymore.
Wow.
So I was like, well, I guess it's time for me to do my own thing. So from there, I reached out to the clients that I'd been working with because they didn't have the support from that company because it shut down. So
Mhm.
they lost their VA. So I reached out to those clients and I said, hey, I don't know what this looks like, but I know that you need this work done. I know the work because I've been doing it for you. So let's see how this goes. And so 3 of the 4 clients that I reached out to said, sure, let's give it a shot.
Nice.
And they started referring me their friends and colleagues like crazy. And within 2 months, I was completely overwhelmed with work, mostly because I said yes to every person that I had a call with. I was like, yep, we'll be a great fit because you want to pay me money.
Yep.
Yeah. So within 2 months, I was completely overwhelmed. My mom called me. We were really close. We talk about 3 times a day. And she calls me
Mhm.
and I'm like, Mom, I don't have time to talk to you. I'm way too busy. I got to go by. And she was
Yep.
like, hey, call your sister. She's not doing anything. She actually said she's sitting on the couch watching Saved by the Bell. And my sister is not lazy. She had just
Mhm.
had a baby. And so she had decided to stay home. So I call her up and she had kind of an administrative background. So I asked her, hey, this is the place in the business and my clients' businesses where I'm just kind of overwhelmed and I'm tired of doing these things over and over. And she's like, actually, that's what I love. So she stepped in as a contractor in the business, just doing that work um, for my clients. And from there, I kept just slowly hiring contractors to take over pieces of the business where I was getting overwhelmed or I was tired of doing it or it wasn't my expertise. And so yeah, from there I found out I was pregnant and I knew that I needed to be able to build this into something sustainable so that I could have a
Uh-huh.
maternity leave. I knew that I needed support for my clients and for the business because at that point it had grown into something kind of bigger than me. So I knew that the business
Mhm.
needed support. So I hired Allie, who's still on my team, and she kind of became me while I was gone.
Nice.
Um, yeah. And so she stepped in, took over all of the management and client care while I was out. And then whenever I came back, she stayed in that role um,
Mm.
and we just kept growing from there. My goal was to have one person on the team that handled like one specific side of the business or piece of the business. And so we grew really big, really fast. At one point, we had 24 women on the team, and it was not sustainable at the rate that we were growing. The way that we were growing, it was not sustainable. So we did scale back, and we do have experts in for every side or piece of your business. So anywhere from bookkeeping to design to content marketing to social media. There's one person on the team to handle every piece of the business, but it's much more scaled back now and more simplified. But yeah,
Mhm.
so that's from start to finish, kind of where we are now.
Wow. But in that time, even like 2015 to 2019, so you said that, you got up to even like 24, but now you've kind of found the right size of team for the business. That's still quite a big team to have grown, in just a short space of time. Over the course of the last 4 years, like, have you felt as if it's kind of just all been in a whirlwind, or has it been a bit more gradual in kind of growing? How has that kind of felt just in terms of how fast the growth has been for you?
Yeah, it has definitely been a whirlwind the whole time. It's been just like straight just growth and change. I mean that is online business. Everything is
Mhm.
changing almost by the second, so it's keeping up.
Oh yeah.
And then, yeah, just clients coming in every day, or prospects coming in every day, um, staying on top of client work, team management, all of that. It's been a complete whirlwind. And there have
Mm.
very rarely been lulls or times where we can even just kind of step back
Uh-huh.
and assess. So, yeah, it's been a whirlwind for sure.
Well, especially as, you found out you were pregnant and then finding out, right, this is my business, I can't just be like, oh, that's me off and, my employer will take care of me.
Right.
It's like, oh, I have the responsibility to build the systems and make this work so that I can actually go and spend this precious time with my newborn. So what's that been like? And did that, do you think, accelerate your building of some of the systems and processes, which you seem to be quite passionate about getting all those into place?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the when I found out I was pregnant and the team was growing, that was the first time that I brought in outside help for the business. I was just kind of
Mm.
making it up as I went along because I'd never started a business or ran. I mean, I'd started small businesses. I'd never started a business where other people were relying on me and counting on me to like write their paychecks. So this was all crazy new to me. So I did bring in
Hmm.
outside help, a business consultant who specialized in systems to kind of take a look at what we were doing, what was going on. Um, and to just see where we could tighten things up. And we were really kind of a bare bones operation at that point. We were getting all of our like client work requests in our inboxes. So we were living out of our inboxes and working out of our inboxes. And that's where our to do lists were, in our inboxes. And so things were getting dropped and lost.
Mm.
There was no accountability, because it was just in someone random's inbox. There was no way for me to have oversight over it. So the biggest change that we made that really revolutionized everything was we got into a project management system, which is so basic, but that really changed everything. So I would recommend that if you feel like you don't have systems or you feel like things are a mess, get into some sort of project management system,
Hmm.
whether that's Asana or Trello or ClickUp or Basecamp, anything like that, so that you can get your processes and systems documented.
Hmm.
And if you have things that you're doing the same way over and over again, you can put those systems in to make sure that everything is coming out the same quality every time.
Hmm. Well, that's really good advice. So, kind of along the lines of like, you can't edit a blank page, you can't really edit a blank to do list that's not really been organized. You need to have that documentation in place to begin with before you can actually start to change things and realize how
Yes,
things actually are.
absolutely. Yeah.
So,
So I a little bit more on that.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So you like thinking like I have systems in my business. I have
Uh-huh.
processes that feels like kind of overwhelming sometimes if you've never actually documented them. But you do have systems. It's probably just living in your head and you're doing the same things over and over again.
Hmm.
You have ways that you do things. And whenever you get them out of your head and onto paper, that's when you actually create the system and you're able to find the gaps. You're able to find the places where you could improve and you're able to see where you've been missing steps. So if you're doing it just out of your head all the time, you are going to miss steps and you're going to
Hmm.
um, miss parts of the process. And so you're not giving consistent delivery to your clients. You're not giving consistent delivery to even like your social media presence or things like that. You're like, whenever you're posting content, if you're not giving consistency, then your audience and your clients can see that and feel that. So it's so, so important to get your systems and processes out and documented so that you can improve them, so that you can follow them each time. I think that would be like my number one advice if you're like just starting out or if you're feeling overwhelmed. If you see it all written out in front of you, you know exactly what you need to do and exactly the steps to follow.
Hmm. So, did you just start literally writing down everything that you were already doing.
Yes, exactly. So anything that was a recurring process, the way that I recommend doing it is as you actually go through it, as you're doing it out of your head, like physically do whatever it is. So if
Hmm.
it's scheduling an Instagram post or it's putting up a blog post, something like that, where there are clear steps that you take every single time, as you're doing it, either write it
Hmm.
down or like type up a list of exactly what you're doing step by step, as if you're trying to train someone else how to do it. If you're trying to train like your 5 year old how to
Hmm.
do it, you want to write it down step by step by step so you can see
Yeah.
every single piece. And then this getting these systems and processes in place is a great way for you to be able to set yourself up to be able to hire help in the future. So right now you might not be at a place
Mm.
where you can hire help or you can bring in support, but if you have these systems and processes in place and written down and in a project management system, whenever the time comes, it's going to be that much easier for someone to step in and do those things that you've been doing.
So, from when you first got that first person on board to help you with your systems and getting all those systems written down, the first 4 or 5 people you got on board after that, once you had all those systems out of your head onto paper, how long did that take, and what was that experience like? Kind of giving um, parts of parts of your business and that responsibility to other people. Was that difficult? Kind of giving that responsibility away, or liberating, or a mixture? And how did that go?
Yeah, it's definitely a mixture because, for me, and I'm sure for all of the listeners, your business is kind of like your baby. You've put
Mhm.
your heart and soul and blood and sweat and tears into it. You've stayed up those long nights. You are the one that cares about it more than anyone else. So it is very difficult to trust someone else to take over the care of your baby because you know that nobody loves it like you do and nobody is going to do it the same way that you do. But I want to challenge you that just because you love it so much and no sure nobody else is going to love it the way that you do and care for it the way that you do, but there are people out there with more expertise in certain parts of the business. Sure, not the part that is like your heart and soul, your craft. You're not going to hire someone or bring in support to do that piece of the business, but there
Yeah.
are plenty of other things that go into business that are not the reason why you started your business. And there's someone out there who is better at that piece of the business, who is faster at that piece of the business, who can see the gaps and who can take it over and do it better than you. So I know that is hard to hear, but
Hmm.
just know that you are never going to outsource or get support around the things that are the heart of your business, the why of your business.
Hmm.
You're going to get support around the things where you lack or the things that kind of drain you. I'm sure you didn't start your business to do bookkeeping. You weren't like, I'm going to start this brand new business because I really want to keep track of my
Yeah.
receipts and make sure that I code everything correctly so that whenever I send it off to my CPA at tax time, like that is not why you started your business.
True.
You started it to do the thing that you love. So it is difficult to pass on things from your business, but it will be so liberating for you because whenever you're not focused on sorting all of your receipts and making sure that things are coded properly, when you're not researching what the best like webinar technology is, if you're not checking links in your written content, like when you're not doing those smaller tasks, when you're truly focusing on your craft and the reason why you started your business, you're going to have so much time and space and even just open brain space to focus on the why and the how, the how you're serving your clients, how you're doing the work, and you're not going to be like stuck on those other things, the reason not the reasons why you did not start your business, the things that just came along with trying to do this on your own. So yeah, it's definitely a mixture of difficult but definitely liberating.
Hmm. I've been listening to a lot of Darren Hardy's stuff recently. Have you heard of him?
No, I don't think so.
So he was the former publisher of Success magazine, and has been involved in all sorts of other ventures. And he does some very paradigm shifting keynote speeches. And one thing that he really loves is this focus on like the core three things you should be spending your time on, and that's what really separates the successful people from the people who are running around in circles doing anything and everything. And every year he sets these like three intentions for the whole year. And whenever he writes a to-do list, every day he'll write a to-do list, and he'll put it into those three things, and everything else goes into a fourth category he calls the devil's vortex. So he's like, those are the things you should not be doing, and the more time you're spending on those things you shouldn't be doing, like um, the more time is just like getting wasted, and you're not actually putting, those like 10,000 hours into mastery over something, which you
Yeah.
do have, which literally everyone has the power to do, and kind of goes back to that starting with why, which you're really focusing on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be honest. I find myself, I guess, in the devil's vortex more than I'd like to
Oh,
admit.
yeah.
It's so easy for me. I like to get caught up in the like doing. So I feel like
Hmm.
I'm making progress because I'm just doing and
Yeah.
hustling and all of that. So that's definitely a trap. As a business owner and as a CEO, is like if I'm not doing stuff, if I'm not checking tons of things off of my to-do list, I'm not being successful. I don't have anything to point to at the end of the day. But
Mm,
are those smaller things, those things in the devil's vortex, is that moving you closer to your goals? And, it's the answer is always no. It's not moving me closer to my
mm,
goal.
mhm. So, do you have any tips or tricks that you use to kind of realign yourself with those core tasks that you and only you can be doing? Anything that's really worked for you in getting you back on track and spending less time doing the things you shouldn't?
Yeah, for sure. So, my team likes to get onto me a lot for I put my hands where they don't belong. I'll go in and I'll
Uh-huh.
be like, I'm going to edit this client's invoice because the email came in my inbox. So I'll just go in real quick and edit it, and then I screw it up because
Hmm.
that's not my area of expertise. I should have just delegated it, and that is something where kind of a struggle with delegation is if I do it, it's going to take me just 30 seconds. But if I delegate, I'm
Mm,
probably going to have to wait 2 or 3 hours before there's a response and a reaction. So that's another kind of hold up with people wanting to delegate, is because they know that they can do it faster. But it's not always about doing it faster. Sometimes it's about doing it better and doing it the right way.
mm,
And then just learning to trust the team and trust that they can handle it. So that's definitely a lesson I'm learning still every day. But I will make my giant to-do list every day. And like throughout the day, things are coming up that I'm just always constantly adding to my list. And whenever I start feeling overwhelmed, and honestly, I should do this even before the overwhelm happens. But take a look at my list, figure out what are the things that my hands actually don't have to touch for it to get done, for it to
mm,
be successful. Like, what are those things that somebody else on the team is an expert in, someone else on the team can handle? And then I delegate, and then I get to mark those off my list, which is a beautiful feeling. Um,
mm,
and then I look at my list and figure out if there are things that can be automated or put into some sort of automation so that I don't have to actually touch it. I can set it up to, schedule it or whatever so that it gets off my list. Then the next one is probably the hardest one is looking and figuring out what actually does not even really need to be done. What's not important, what's not getting me to my goal, what is actually just busy work, what's something I can just take off of my list and not do. And then from there, your list has gotten much, much, much smaller, and you're able to
mhm,
see the things that you actually need to do. And from there, you could even look at what your quarterly goals are and see if these things actually align, see if they
Mm.
are the most important things. And then you could even schedule them out to see like when is the best time to do it. Is this urgent? Do I need to be putting my time and energy into this right now, or can this be pushed to next week? Because that is another trap, is the urgency trap. Like, oh, I have to get
Oh
this
yeah.
done right now.
Hmm.
When actually, if you do it tomorrow or next week, it's not going to change a thing.
Mm. I really like even your language around that, where you say, you can even then start to look at things in a quarterly sense, and that's even difficult to do, as business owners or anyone starting to manage their own time, to really elevate their perspective further than just like a few weeks. So it's evident that you do already have these benefits, even from the way you're able to talk about that. One thing I want to dig into a bit more is your team, because obviously it's not really been possible for you to build what you have built without your team. And you talk about really having to trust your team and being able to trust them being the most competent person at that part of the business that you have employed them for or contracted them for. So, what has that process been like, and how did you go about finding those people? I know you mentioned you brought your sister on board. Kind of beyond that, um, how did you find trustworthy people and people you could really depend upon to build this empire that is She Can Coterie?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I was looking for people in the communities that I was already part of. So I knew that I wasn't looking to hire a 40-hour a week employee to start. I was looking
Hmm.
for someone that could give me 10 to 15 hours a week. So that would be maybe someone who has a side hustle, or someone who is already doing the work and doing it on their own. So I would contract them through my business to do, to use their expertise that they're using in their business on mine. So I would really just post in Facebook groups. So it was really simple in the beginning, and yeah, so I would create just a really simple job post. It was nothing complex. And yeah, just reach out and see who was wanting extra work, who had
Hmm.
the expertise. And yeah, so we had our systems in place so they knew coming in exactly what they would be handling. And we gave them, I give my team members a lot of autonomy. So
Hmm.
I trust them coming in, um, and I give them the freedom to do the work. And then I just kind of check in and see what's working and what's not. Because I feel like whenever we
Yeah.
give our team member the freedom to take steps, to make mistakes, to really soar, then that's when we're going to see their best work. We're not going to see their best work if we are micromanaging and saying, I would change it right there. Nope, you're not doing that right.
Hmm.
Like that, that's not going to give them the space to grow and to learn.
Hmm.
And we tell all of our team members when they come in, you're going to screw something up. It's not the end of the world. We apologize to the client. We'll make it right. We'll fix it.
Uh-huh.
It's fine. Like, everyone makes mistakes, and that's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we find the gaps, and that's how we improve. So yeah, we give them a lot of freedom when they come in to do their best work. And now, so back then we were finding most of them through like previous connections that I had, and in those like Facebook groups and those communities. But now we have a little bit of a wider reach. So we're putting out calls for new people on our Instagram. We even tried like a LinkedIn thing for the last person that we hired.
Hmm.
So we're just putting out the call in lots of different places. But our community has grown so much that whenever we put out the call for someone, um, people understand our culture and understand what we're looking for, and they generally will point us to people, or point people to us that are a really great fit based on
Mm.
what they've seen from us and what they know from us.
That's kind of the perfect scenario. Even down to your management style, that's just so appealing to a certain caliber of person who can deliver very high quality work while being fairly independent in that work. I was just kind of having an uncomfortable flashback to the days where I did have employers. This one boss in particular, it just still blows my mind in terms of his micromanagement of how he did things. He would send out these emails. I think he literally read something like 5,000 emails a day, like absolutely bonkers. He was just always on email, always on email. I guess you could say he's always in that devil's vortex.
Yeah.
Um, but
Email
it went even.
exists in the devil's
Oh
vortex.
yeah. Oh my goodness. It's like there's a whole part of the Devil's Vortex particularly
Yeah.
dedicated to email. But he went so far with this that he would at times just pick an employee that he felt like they could be doing their job slightly differently, and he would send them an email with about 50 to 60 very specific points on how they could be doing better, and expect a response within a week as to like how they'd accomplished these like 50 to 60 like really specific things, often things which didn't make any sense for the person to actually change or tweak in their role, something that wouldn't actually bring about a better long-term change. But of course that would attract certain types of people, the caliber of person who would like put up with that kind of thing probably wouldn't hang around for very long. So it's really encouraging to hear that you empower your employees in that way. That makes all the difference. It completely transforms the culture, um, and it comes out of, I feel like, kind of a place of where you're at and where you can actually start to let go of that control, and actually trust people with what's needed to be done as part of a larger system.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I wonder like how much that manager was actually getting done. It seems like the only
mhm,
thing that he was doing was his inbox and micromanaging. I have work to do. I have big goals. I have things that I want to accomplish. I don't have time to sit around and just like have an eagle eye over what the team is doing and how they're doing their work. And I don't have the time to jump in and like nitpick every single thing. I've got big things I want to
exactly.
do. So I know that I'm making movement as the team has the freedom to make the moves that they need to make.
Uh-huh. So out of all this big experience building this up and bringing people on, building processes, what are a few things you wish you would have known before you started all of this? Anything that present Mandy would go and say to Mandy from 5 or 6 years ago, like here are some like really key things that you should know before you go into this next chapter of your life.
Yeah. So, one of the biggest things is really sitting down to figure out what I wanted this to look like, and really listen to myself on what I wanted to accomplish and what I wanted this to turn into. I don't think there was really a way for past me to even be able to comprehend all that we would be able to do as a team and as a company. But I think for so long I was kind of looking externally at what I should be doing and what I should be accomplishing, and that's how we grew um, so fast and really in an unsustainable way, in a way that was not scalable. So that back around July, we had kind of a leadership meeting where we all came together in person and took a good hard look at what was working, what wasn't working. And part of what wasn't working was we grew too fast, too big, too fast. And it had really turned into something that I didn't want it to look like and wasn't sustainable long term. So I think if I could go back and tell myself
Mm,
something, I think it would be really just pay attention to what you want and not what other people are, or really what you think that other people are expecting from you or what's going to look best on the outside. Focus on creating something that is sustainable and that's going to work long term, that grows deeper rather than
Mm.
wider. That really was one of the biggest mistakes that we've made, is that instead of focusing on growing deep, we were trying to grow wider, and it was not sustainable. It wasn't scalable, and so we really had to scale back before we could, I guess, scale up.
That's a really, really good tip. I think a lot of our listeners, as they kind of start to see a future for themselves, building out a career or a business in a non-conventional way, I think that's going to really speak to a lot of people. A lot of people right now trying to create that vision. It's like, what should it look like? What values are important? And having that depth of vision, as you said, is very, very important, and very good to not lose track of. So really, really appreciate that. Just before we wrap up, I'd really like to ask if there are any resources, any really good blogs or articles, or any sort of things that you would recommend that have really helped you in your journey so far.
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, I'm kind of drawing a blank because I've been kind of in put my head down and get to work
Uh-huh.
mode. We're in the middle of writing a book for our company, and
Oh,
so
nice.
I've been trying to like shut out all outside things so I can just put my head down and focus on putting out my own content.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. I'm trying to think of people that I've turned to in the past. Um, let's see. Um, some podcasts that I like to listen to, or a business mind that I like to turn to, is Tara Gentili.
Mm-hmm.
She is talking to people um, that have done all sorts of unconventional businesses, and she likes to talk about what's working in their business and what they found that works for themselves. And she's just a brilliant business mind who thinks of things pretty unconventionally, and it's not um, the normal business advice that you hear. So I would highly recommend listening to her. Her podcast is called What Works,
Mm-hmm.
and then she has a community called What Works.
Nice.
That's for business owners.
Nice. You said you were also like just putting out a ton of your own content as well. So like, absolutely, if there's any resources that you'd recommend of your own that you think are providing a lot of value to people, that you've seen really good examples of that helping people with, feel free to let us know where to look for those as well.
Okay, yeah, we're about to start a new series on our blog that is all about moving from manager of your business to CEO.
No.
So really getting out of that, I guess, devil's vortex into that, seeing the big vision for your company, seeing um, all of the systems and things that you need to put in place to scale, to get out of that manager, like doing, working,
Mm,
hustling mindset to grow your business long term. So we're about to put out, it'll be weekly content with worksheets. Um, and that's starting in the next couple of weeks. So you can look out for that on our website.
awesome. So, Mandy, it's been really, really awesome having you on. Just wanted to also ask, what is the best way for people to get hold of you? Um, is it email, Instagram, whatever is the best way for people to get in touch, ask you a bit more about what you're up to and follow your journey? What is the best way?
Yeah, so Instagram is probably the best way. Please stay out of my inbox. I don't want to get into the devil's vortex, but yeah, Instagram is the best place. We're just at She Can Coterie. And then you can also find us on our website. And if you're interested in working together or learning more about us, the website is the best place to do that. And we have lots of information there about the work that we do.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mandy. You've just brought so much perspective on systems and building something from the ground up. Really appreciate you coming on today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having
Very
me.
welcome. Well, successful dropout, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around the most, and you've been hanging out with Sam and Mandi, learning everything the traditional system never taught you. For everything we talked about today, visit successfuldropout.com and type Mandi, that's Mandi, into the search bar, and the show notes will pop right up. And as always, stay hungry, stay foolish.